Hello everyone, welcome to EduTab and also welcome to the government scheme session. The scheme that we are covering today is Pradhan Mantri Sampada Yojana. So it is a very important scheme from all the examination point of view. What are the important static as well as the current development that is going on in this particular scheme? Whatever dimensions are important, we are going to discuss. But before starting, here's an announcement for all the aspirants who are preparing for central regulatory bodies. We have come up with one-stop solution guide to all the queries that you might be having regarding the organization. If you want to know what is the role of RBI, NABARD or SEBI in constructing India, what are the different departments, what will be your role once you join the organization, if you have such doubt in your mind, you can refer to these e-guidebooks. Apart from that, also everything about the recruitment process, what are the different phases, what is the pattern of each phase, what sort of questions are asked, what is the previous year pattern, cut off, syllabus, all the questions that you must be having in your mind. And even the most important one, are you eligible or not? So is your age allows you to appear for the examination, is your educational background allows you to appear in the examination? All these doubts have been comprehensively covered, so do not miss the opportunity. You can download these e-guidebooks free of cost from the link that is provided in the description box below. Now coming to see, so now we know RBI examination, it is near, right? It's a recruitment process, it is going to be held in July, right? So if you look at the ESI syllabus of the examination, there we have Indian agriculture as one of its component, right? So that is why any scheme that is related to agriculture also, it becomes very important from the examination point of view. And if I specifically talk about Matsya Sampada Yojana, let me just tell you that this particular scheme is in news every month. This is the latest snippet that I have taken, that is of 16th May. But if I tell you, every month there is some update, and if not updates, but yes, some whatever the current development that is going on, or even just like that, expressing its objectives and its features. Such news comes in the exam in your PIB. That is why I'll just suggest at least just go through this particular lecture. If not, you want to afterwards want to revise it, so that you can pretty much guess answers in the examination if you're not exclusively prepared for this. But if you're appearing for NABARD, this is a very important scheme from the examination point of view. Okay, now let's come to just know a little bit background why this particular scheme is important. So basically, see, we know that India, or some of you know, might be knowing it, it is known as a subcontinent. Why is it known as a subcontinent? Because see, it constitutes of everything which usually a whole continent have, a whole continent have. Okay, that is why it is known as a subcontinent. Now if you look at the down portion of India, which is from three sides covered with water. Okay, so of course we know there are various resources that are present in the water region, right? So what happens, and of course we also know that in the down south region specifically, the fishes and other such consumption of the aquatic animals, it is more, and that is also understandable because there the environment is like such, right? Condition is like such. Now the government, they want to focus on the blue economy, they want to boost this blue economy. Now what is this blue economy? It is basically a term that has been coined to utilize the resources that we have in our water, and this does not talk about fishes but other aquatic organism as well. Okay, to utilize them in a sustainable manner. What does it mean? We are not actually harming the oceanic environment, in a sustainable manner, to increase our livelihood opportunities also, and to live in a better way also. Okay, so basic idea of blue economy is to we are basically focusing on the blue economy, right? So abhi bhi to hota hi tha, abhi bhi to we extract fishes from the sea environment in the down south, right? But actually that was just happening in a very informal way. Now the government, they want to formalize everything, they want to focus it, they want to create the infrastructure for fisheries sector and in this component also, so that we have better post harvest management also, we can actually export it, which will ultimately add to our GDP. Okay, so this is the basic concept behind it. And to boost the blue economy, the government, they came up with the blue revolution. Now what is this? See, when the production of crops that was quite low in India, government, they came up with green revolution. So basically they came up with some revolutionary ideas which they actually implemented in the field, which helped us to boost our crop production. That came under green revolution. So now, because we want to boost up the same thing for our aquatic environment, oceanic environment, so the term that has been coined, it is the blue revolution. Okay, under this blue revolution only, the government, they came up with this scheme, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. So see, Matsya, simply it means fish, but let me just clarify, this particular scheme does not focus on fishes but other aquatic organism as well, shrimp, we can say, or other such aquatic animals that we eat. Okay, Sampada, it means prosperity. Basically we have to become prosperous by focusing on our aquatic resources that we have. ठीक है. अब इसके लिए there are some objectives, ठीक है. How will we become prosperous or how will we able to boost our blue economy? That will be done when we'll focus on the we will have some objectives that will focus on this aquatic region, right? What can be these objectives? We have to first harness the potential of fishery sector. Okay, of course, when we are going to focus on fishery sector, then only our blue economy will boost, ठीक है. But one thing we have to keep in mind that it should be in a sustainable manner and in a very responsible way. We are not actually harming the environment, right? Similarly, we become greedy for the crops. We used a lot of fertilizers that has degraded the soil fertility, right? All those sort of things. Similarly, now we don't want to just do that in the fishery sector, so we have to do it in a very sustainable way, right? We have to enhance the fish production and fish productivity, okay? See, these all are objectives of PMMSY only, so please keep this in mind also, and that is why we are discussing this also, ठीक है. हमको fish production भी increase करना है, productivity भी increase करनी है. What is this productivity? Actually it means for example, this is a 1 hectare land. I'm just giving a random example, बहुत basic example, land A, land B, ठीक है. अब यहाँ से we got 5 kg of grains and यहाँ से we got 10 kg of grains. Now the area was similar, but here the productivity of this particular B field it is more, ठीक है. I hope you understand the difference. Production means in production we just look at how much quantity we have gotten, ठीक है. But in productivity we look at from what space what production we have gotten, ठीक है. So this is the difference between that. We have to focus on fish production also, productivity also. We have to actually modernize and strengthen our value chain system so that whatever product we are harvesting, it is actually reaching to the consumer at a far off distance. Along with that, we have to improve the post harvest management technologies also, so that new products can be formed out of the aquatic organism, which can be utilized later on as well, right? We have to focus on fish farmers doubling their income. Of course their income will be doubled. It will have a direct impact on our GDP, है ना. Enhance the contribution of fishery sector in a GVA, gross value added. Agriculture का जो gross value added है उसमें इसको हमको increase करना है. We have to focus on the social, economic and physical security also, and we have to build some regulatory framework also for the fishery sector. Because of these objectives, और with these objectives, the scheme came into existence in the year 2020, ठीक है. And this falls under the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying. So basically देखो, fisheries और animal husbandry and dairying, these two ministry have been merged, ठीक है. अब ये एक ministry है, and if I specifically talk about department, so I don't think it would be confusing to remember. Of course the Department of Fisheries will be taking care of this particular scheme, ठीक है. Aim we have to have, to some extent we have already understood, right? To have a sustainable and responsible development of fisheries sector. And again, fisheries does not mean fish but other aquatic organism also. Now see, whenever any scheme is launched, it is launched for a certain time period. Till then time period, it is the government expect to achieve a target, है ना. If we don't set a particular timeline, a target, we might become lazy. That is why there is always a sunset period of all the schemes. Then we reach at that certain point, then we look at it कि यार आगे we have to continue it or not, is the objective achieved or not, ठीक है. So tenure currently of it is from the year 2020-2021 financial year से 24-25 financial year तक है. Beneficiaries you don't have to exclusively remember, because it talks about anybody who is involved in this particular sector, fish farmers, fish workers, vendors, ठीक है, cooperatives, कोई भी आपके SC/ST women, आपके SHGs, individual entrepreneurs, कोई भी आपके हो, आपकी जो joint liability groups हो, everybody are the beneficiary under the particular scheme. Total outlay, see, total outlay when this scheme was launched in 2020, total outlay for these next 5 years, it was your 20,050 crore rupees. But this particular financial year, so now this is the update that has been done in this particular budget session. What is the update that has been done? So a new sub scheme has been launched. So देखो, here when we are talking about overall development of fishery sector, so we can understand there will be various other schemes or other projects or programs that will run under it, right? Similarly, this one, so I would recommend you to at least remember the name of this particular one scheme, because this has been in this financial year only, this has been added. So a new sub scheme has been added under this. So what the name of the scheme is? It is Pradhan Mantri Matsya Kisan Samriddhi Seh Yojana. Okay, so it's Pradhan Mantri Matsya Kisan Samriddhi Seh Yojana. This is the new sub scheme that has been added under the particular umbrella scheme. With what objective? So the objective here is to bring about formalization. So we have to actually formalize the fishery sector. It is currently informal type of sector, right? Formalization. So how this will be done? This will be done by digital inclusion. It will be done by facilitating access to institutional finance. ठीक है, जिससे कैपिटल इन्वेस्टमेंट हो सके, वर्किंग कैपिटल के लिए आपको अमाउंट मिल सके, इन incentives to bring about system. ठीक है, incentives आपको देना. So basically to formalize this sector, this particular new sub scheme has been added again. So some outlay will also be needed for this, right? Because this 2050 was according to what the schemes that were under that, or the objectives were under that at that particular time. ठीक है, but during the course of this particular timeline, government realized that okay, we forgot one of the sector. We forgot about the formalization, or what are the components that are required in formalization of fishery sector, right? So they came up with this scheme with the total targeted investment of rupees 6,000 crore. So this 6,000 crore has been added to the total outlay, and this 6,000 crore will be specifically, that will be for Pradhan Mantri Matsya Kisan Samriddhi Seh Yojana. ठीक है, remember the name, remember the amount. Question can be asked directly, यार कितना for this particular component कितना पैसा दिया गया है. ठीक है, see now let's talk about the target of this particular scheme. Now what can be the possible target? What let's just assume, or let's just think of it, right? Target can be to increase the production, right? Why to increase the production and productivity? That is so that we can have some economic benefits, right? It can add to our GVA. That is one thing, right? So the third one, so basically we are talking about fish production and productivity. ठीक है, उनका production productivity करना है, economic value addition करना है, और एक which I was skipping before, that is to, yes, that is to enhance the income. Okay, because if our economy will grow, that will enhance the income, and these targets will also help to improve to increase the employment generation as well. ठीक है, तो अब इसमें these 3 points we are just going to look at the important data that is present in it, and these are very important from the examination point of view as well. ठीक है, सबसे पहले if you look at the fish production and productivity, see currently if you look at the 2018-19 का जो data था, because 2020 that is where the scheme was released, taking consideration what was the conditions at that particular year or before that, है ना, तो it was 13.75 million metric ton that we were producing. But now the target under the scheme is to increase our fish production, and to how much? To 22 million metric ton by 24-25. Very important data to remember. Another thing is about productivity also. So production तो इतना बढ़ना चाहिए, but productivity should also increase. That should be up to 5 ton per hectare. So from per hectare, from every hectare there should be production of 5 ton of the fishery sector, whatever be the cultivation that we will be doing. ठीक है, अभी कितना है? अभी ये 3 ton है. We have to increase it to 5 ton. Okay, augmenting domestic fish consumption from 5 to 12. So basically if you look at the ICMR, that basically ICMR organization, it tells you how much nutrient requirement every body have, and for that how much consumption of maybe protein, of carbohydrates, of everything that should be done in rural as well as urban areas, male, female, everything category that they do. ठीक है, now according to them, we should in a year we should have somewhere around 12 kg of consumption of fish or meat. ठीक है, that is according to them. If you are vegetarian, if you are vegan, that's a different case, but they have come up with the data. ठीक है, कि इतना आपका consumption होना चाहिए to have proper to fulfill the body requirement, nutrient requirement. ठीक है, तो currently that we have in India, it is 5 kg, but we have to increase that to 12 kg per capita. ठीक है, apart from that जो आपका second component था, that was economic value addition. So now here we are focusing on economy and how this Matsya Sampada Yojana should add value to that. ठीक है, we have to, first of all, we have to increase the fishery sector contribution to our agriculture gross value added, whatever be the GVA we have in agriculture, about 9%. अभी currently it in the year 2018-19 it was 7.28. We have to increase that to 9% by 24-25. ठीक है, doubling export earning. Now because we are talking about economic value addition, so we have to focus on the export import also. So we have to double the export earning to 1 lakh crore. ठीक है, by 24-25. Next is, of course, we have to welcome, we have to attract private investment and growth or entrepreneurship in this sector, then only there will be some boost in our economy because of this particular sector, that is the fishery sector we are talking about. And we also have to focus on the post harvest losses, because we harvest the sources from the ocean or the sea or whatever be the water resources we are talking about, but then they just they rot, right? We don't actually utilize them. So currently it is 20 to 25%, but we have to reduce it to at least 10% by 24-25. But of course our ultimate aim at the longer run will be to reduce it to 0%, right? Even though that is not overall possible to have 0% wastage, but still the target would be like that only. And the third is enhancing income and employment generation. Important factor here, the government aims to generate 55 lakh direct or indirect employment opportunities with the help of this particular scheme. Okay? And government is also focusing on doubling the fish farmers income by 24. Okay? We have to keep in mind this, we are not talking about all the farmers, just the fish farmers we are talking about. Expecting or aiming, the government is aiming to increase their income by 2024, that is to double their income by 2024. Okay? These are few of the basic things, some other key features that we just have to look at how this will be achieved. So this will be achieved by integrated modern coastal fishes farming villages. What will be done in the areas where fishery can be a good scope? Okay, so there what will be done, whatever coastal fishing villages will be there, they will be taught with the integrated modern coastal fishing programs, where the aim is to not just rely on one sector. And with this we always focus on agriculture, है ना? We don't have to just focus on one particular sector, because for example farmer is just sowing the crops, but due to crop failure, then that particular year the farmer will not have any income. Similarly, if a farmer just do animal husbandry, but for example lumpy disease, it was very common last year, right, in cattle. What if he had just 3 cows and all were affected with lumpy disease? Now the person would have no income. Similarly, even though we are focusing on fishery sector, but the government, they aim to have a integrated model, just not focus on fisheries, but to have a amalgamation integration of more than one enterprise, so that they have multiple source of income. Okay? So they will be taught with that. Then a well structured implementation framework, of course that's a very common thing to understand. And here the cluster or area based approach will be there, not focusing on the individual farmer, but a cluster based approach. Similarly to the example of Amul, where many women, they came together and they had more benefit because the production was in bulk, right? Similarly, cluster or area based approach will be followed here also for the end-to-end solution. Okay? And here of course we are also focusing, government is focusing on infusing the new technologies at every stage, at post harvest, pre harvest and harvest stages. ठीक है? तो आपके different ये सब name है, ठीक है? Even if you don't remember, that's not a issue, but that's important to remember यार कि emerging technology we have to keep in mind. Now funding, we have understood कि आपको 20,500 अब 50 आपकी करोड़ है, and then 6,000 were added for the sub scheme, that we know funding, but how this will be actually distributed, or the under the various sectors of the scheme or the components of the scheme. So we have understood that this particular scheme, it is what it is, it is an umbrella scheme. So there are various components, है ना? So the funding is done in both ways. So we have, by now I hope you know that there are two types of funding. One is central sector scheme, one is central sponsored scheme. ठीक है? सेंटर स्कीम में गवर्नमेंट, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट जस्ट दे गिव द मनी, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट डोंट हैव एनी रोल टू प्ले इन द फंडिंग. दे माइट हैव एन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, बट दे डोंट हैव डायरेक्टली इन द फंडिंग. सेंट्रल स्पॉन्सर्ड में क्या है? सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट plus state government provide with the funding. Now catch of this particular scheme is they have both sort of component. So what you can understand, for example, if there are n number of components under this particular scheme, some of the factor will be central sponsored, okay, while some of the components will be center sector. ठीक है? तो कुछ कंपोनेंट में सिर्फ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट पैसा देगी, कुछ कंपोनेंट में सिर्फ सेंट्रल स्पॉन्सर्ड पैसा देगी. इतना समझ में आ गया? नाउ इफ यू टॉक अबाउट सेंट्रली सेक्टर कंपोनेंट्स, नाउ दैट इज आल्सो डिवाइडेड इनटू टू कैटेगरीज. व्हाट आर दीज कैटेगरीज? देयर विल बी, अगेन देयर आर वेरियस कंपोनेंट्स. इन सम कंपोनेंट्स ओनली द सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट विल पे मनी. इन सम कंपोनेंट्स बेनिफिशियरी विल आल्सो कंट्रीब्यूट देयर शेयर. ठीक है? तो इसमें क्या होगा? वी हैव वन नॉन बेनिफिशियरी ओरिएंटेड. सो नॉन बेनिफिशियरी ओरिएंटेड 100% will be given by the central government, and those with the beneficiary oriented, here beneficiary will also do some contribution. ठीक है? तो इन केस ऑफ क्या होगा, योर इन केस ऑफ beneficiary oriented. Now if you belong to general category, in that case 60% will be contributed by you, and rest 40% will be contributed by the central government. If you belong to SC, ST or women, agar you belong to all reserve and quota categories that we already know, in such cases the beneficiary would just have to contribute 40% of the money amount, and rest will be bared by the central government. ठीक है, I hope there is no confusion. Central sector component अब अलग ले लो. We have understood there are two components, central sector, central sponsored. Central sector में भी दो component है. Some of the expenditure only central government will bear, while in some beneficiary will also contribute. ठीक है, अब ये क्या components है, all this I don't think you have to go deep down, because there are various individual projects that are present in there. ठीक है, अब इतना समझ में आ गया. अब सेंट्रली स्पॉन्सर्ड में भी सेम थिंग है. वन इज नॉन बेनिफिशियरी ओरिएंटेड, वन इज बेनिफिशियरी ओरिएंटेड. तो नॉन बेनिफिशियरी ओरिएंटेड इट मीन्स सिर्फ सेंटर और स्टेट ही पैसा देंगे. ओनली सेंटर एंड स्टेट विल प्रोवाइड विद द मनी. बेनिफिशरीज जस्ट take the benefit, they don't add to the funding. But in case of beneficiary oriented, center and state, of course they will give money. Why both will give money? Because it is a center sponsored scheme. But again, beneficiary will also contribute some portion to it, and it has the same categorization. If your general 60% of the amount will be given by you only, rest 40% they will divide among themselves, that whatever funding they have to do. And if you are SC, ST, women and reserved quota, then 40% is what the beneficiary have to add, and rest the central and state will do. ठीक है, अब इससे क्या क्या बेनिफिट होंगे स्कीम से? फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस मिलेगा फिशिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. ठीक है, फिश फार्मर्स के लिए, फॉर एग्जाम्पल दे हैव टू डू द कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ वेरियस एक्टिविटी. दे हैव टू कंस्ट्रक्ट पॉन्ड्स, केजेस, हैचरीज, नर्सरीज, ऑल दिस थिंग्स. तो उसका इंस्टॉलेशन भी आपको काफ़ी सिस्टम, जैसे एरेशन सिस्टम. इफ यू हैव आर्टिफिशियली क्रिएटेड एन एनवायरमेंट फॉर फिशेज, then you need some एयरेशन सिस्टम ऑल्सो, क्योंकि ऑक्सीजन सारी यूज्ड अप हो जाएगा. ठीक है, आपको फिशरीज के मैनेजमेंट के लिए असिस्टेंस मिलता है, क्रेडिट लिंक सब्सिडी मिलती है फिशरी फार्मर्स को, असिस्टेंस फॉर मार्केटिंग एंड एक्सपोर्ट भी मिलेगा. दीज आर सम ऑफ द बेनिफिट्स द फार्मर्स विल गेट अंडर दिस. दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द स्कीम. अगेन दिस इज द न्यूज. सो अंडर द फ्लैगशिप स्कीम Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, 7 major field studies are being carried out by National Productivity Council. This particular news is not that important from the current development point of view. However, the static portion of it becomes very important. ठीक है, so that is all about the scheme. This is the homework question for you all. Please attempt it. And these are the toppers of the last session. Suraj said the right answer. Only B, option number, which was option number 4, it was the right answer. Sojanya said the right answer. Rachit said the right answer. Archana said the right answer. Impana said the right answer. Shrivani said the right answer. Rekha said the right answer. Rishabh said the right answer. Nahit said the right answer, right? And welcome Priya, welcome. So that is all in this scheme. If you like the session, kindly like it, comment it down what you liked about it, and what scheme you want me to cover. Please let me know. And you can download the PDF of this particular lecture from our Telegram channel, and the link of our Telegram channel, it is also present in the description box below. So thank you everyone, all the very best for your examination, and we will meet again with another video on government scheme. Until then, all the very best for your examination, and thank you.